Hello, everyone, and welcome back to NextDev FM. My name is Ryan, and I'm joined by my co-host here.
Dan Goosewin.
And today we are joined by Dennis Ivy from AppWrite. Dennis, how you doing?
Doing all right. Glad to be here. I thought I was gonna have to give an intro like Dan, so I was like trying to get ready
Now
for that.
that's what I was telling you. I was telling you it's like we handle everything. You don't got to worry about it. It all just gets figured out for you. That's why the show's nice because you just got to come on and jive and vibe, and
Yeah, just show up, man.
we carry the conversation. So,
Yeah.
Dennis, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Just working on some videos right now, so I was in the zone with that, but I'm pumped to have have a little chat here.
Yeah. Thanks for making the time. We usually start the conversation with a little intro. So why don't you give us a 2-minute introduction? Who are you and what do you do?
So I am a developer advocate at a company called AppWrite right now. Uh, I've been a developer advocate for almost 4 years, but mostly in the tech ed space. So, like, if we want to rewind a little bit, I got into tech, building my own products, built actually my own marketing agency, developed websites and so on, and really had this weird career path where went from the agency to developing SaaS products, and had a couple of exits, actually small exits, nothing major, but just hacked around a lot, and then naturally went into the developer education space and starting my YouTube channel. So I learned mostly from Udemy, YouTube, all those resources out there. And when I had the chance, when I had some money in my account to really test this out, I started teaching online, and that kind of took off, and that ventured into being a developer advocate. So I have like a 11-year history in tech at this point, and it's kind of a weird roadmap. It jumped around all over the place. So I have experience in weird departments, everything from building a SaaS product to freelancing to sales, marketing, SEO, that sort of thing.
Well, it
Right.
sounds like you're a perfect founder material.
They got every single element that's sort of needed for that thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The stress management is the part that kind of sucks, and what's really pushed me out of certain aspects of it, because it definitely loads up on you. I'm sure any founder would tell you that. That's the one thing they don't really warn you before you get into it.
Like the raising part or managing people?
Just managing a business. I mean, I started running my first business at 19 years old, and at first I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. I'll hire a couple of buddies, we'll build cool stuff, and then things like payroll, legal, working with customers, trying to sell them on certain things, and also guide the company, manage personal issues, that sort of thing. It's like, this is not the part that I signed up for. I signed up to build stuff. That was about it. But
Right.
yeah, you just adapt. It's just surprised me. That's kind of
I think if
took me out of the
somebody
game.
creates a company where they handle all of the legal HR and all of the other stuff and like kind of have like just like a startup, like let you run as a startup like under their company or something like that. I feel like that's going to take off because I feel like that's been a big recurring issue where it's like somebody wants to start a company and they're really good, they're really smart, but then they've got to find an HR person, then they've got to go and find legal and then accountants and then all this other stuff. And like if you raise, that's fine because then you've got money for that. But if you don't raise and you're just bootstrapping yourself, then it's like, ooh,
Yeah, it's like business
am I going to figure it out?
business management as a service or something like that. Like
Yeah.
something that takes away that aspect. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved something like that.
That would be the dream. Yeah, because that's kind of what I was going through with my company right now. Because I just run it by myself, and I'm wanting to scale, but I'm like, well, how big should I scale? Should I go like S corp or all this other stuff? And there's a trillion different ways to do it. There's like not one path where you go like LLC or single like sole proprietorship LLC and all this other stuff. It's an absolute storm of different things. But
Yep.
you originally started out before you did coding, you started out with like an online marketing agency, right?
Yeah, so I got into that by accident. So I didn't go to college. I went to college when I was in high school, but I dropped out the second I graduated high school, and I'm like, I don't know, 4 credits away from an associate's. Like I just
Right.
consider myself a non-college person, and I did that to make sure my dad was happy. But once I got out, I didn't know what I was gonna do, and I kind of ventured into multiple business ventures that I was trying out.
Sure.
And there was this one point where I basically accidentally created a business, and I had to make a website for it. And that website worked very well. Like I was able to rank it. It started making money. It was a little locksmith company that me and my buddy created. And it started pushing some cash. And I was like, oh, well, I don't have to build and scale this locksmith business. Like I can sell websites for way more than I can sell these locksmith services.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
started selling web development services. And then with that, came the marketing, the SEO. Like people just heard about what I did and then kept asking me if I can do it for their companies. Like I knew how to network within my community. So I think people were inspired to see somebody younger doing something. And it was like really easy to get those connections, I guess. I think older business types really.
What were some of the biggest challenges you ran into with like sort of like that pivot of like being like, hey, let me start doing this website development stuff? Because I feel like everyone in like this web dev space sort of started out pretty similar where they're like, oh, hey, I can kind of do websites that are pretty easy. I can make this a business. So what was your take on that?
So there was this natural evolution in this process. Like I eventually went into building custom stuff, but it was probably the customer request, like knowing how to actually deal with what the customer wanted and then having to figure out like, can I actually do what they're requesting? Because at this point I'm low code. I'm literally building with a drag and drop builder, and even WordPress was too much for me. So when a client would look at something, they would, ask for a certain feature. Like, can we have this drop down menu with these icons here? And can it like have like a third layer to it? And I'd sit there and be like, yeah, I think so. And then Wix wouldn't have that feature. So it was like, what technologies do I need to pick up in order to satisfy the customer's needs? And that's actually how I got into coding, was because the customer requests were way more than Wix can handle. And back then, this is about 11 years ago, Wix was not what it is today. Like now it's really a super advanced tool.
That's really funny you say that, because we were talking about the 3D printing business. I started that. I'm 21 now. Almost 7 years ago, when I was 14, is when I started the 3D printing company, like the idea of it. And I obviously didn't know code a ton. And I went to Wix and Squarespace and what was the other one? Weebly. Yes, Weebly. Yeah, I went to all. Are they?
I don't know. I haven't heard of them forever.
Yeah. Square acquired them. That's what they're doing. Anyways, so the big thing with the 3D printing stuff is I wanted it all to be custom. So you grab like a 3D file and you drag and drop it and you can get a custom quote. Obviously, that requires like some infrastructure to do that. And none of these platforms kind of had it done or had any sort of integration for like dynamic pricing or anything like that. And I got started with it was like PHP 8 or whatever. And looking back now, it is probably the worst coding like thing I've ever created. But let me explain the flow, and everyone's going to listen to this and cringe. You upload a file. It doesn't upload though. It's just like a standard like HTML form. You attach the file, you click upload. That upload button submits that file to a PHP function. What that PHP function does is upload the file, run a boot up a command line 3D printing slicer, slice the file, save that file to G code, parse the multi-hundreds of thousands of lines of G code, then interpolate from that data. The entire request took 2 minutes and 30 seconds on average. And it's not like I did something where it like the page redirected to like a client page and then it dispatched like an async request. The page was server rendered with PHP, and the entire page took 2 minutes and 30 seconds to load as like my first ever like site. And I was so proud of it. I'm like, bro, let's go. And then I wondered why I didn't have any customers.
That's every story though. Like there's
right, yeah.
The code that I wrote, like I built out a website, I guess, piece of software or whatever, integrated with a lab that I worked at. And I thought I was a badass when I built this. I would not touch that code with a 10-foot pole. Like it's so bad, and I can't believe someone paid money for it. I mean, it worked, But yeah, it's like the stuff that you hack together when you don't know what all the tools are, especially in your first go around. It's impressive. It's actually kind of inspiring in its own way.
Yeah, everyone's got that like unique story, and that's where you kind of learn like, oh, how how did you grow? How did you learn? That's what NextDev is all about. It's like learning about that journey. And
Yeah.
because everyone's always like, yeah, I have this Next.js project built with TRPC and Drizzle and then Neon integration on the back end, and then we do auth validations through BetterAuth, and we do validator checks and all this stuff. You're like, yeah, but how'd you get started? And that's where you really learn everything. That's how you really grow.
Yeah, I think it's a general trend. Like a lot of things used to be simpler, and a lot of like these web frameworks, they would figure things out for you, pack a lot of batteries. Think of Ruby on Rails or Django. Like there's so much stuff that's already figured out for you. All you have to do is worry about the business logic. Um,
Right.
yeah, in the JavaScript ecosystem, we got into the spot where we have so many options to modularize to control every piece of the stack that it gets it gets pretty complicated on very, very simple things now.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, back to the usual program. So, Dennis, I'm really curious to hear what was your first ever project that made you money? Like, you started in freelancing, right?
Yeah, so it was that locksmith website that I was telling you about, like the
Mm,
one that happened by accident. And I'll actually tell you the backstory. So, my buddy worked for like this lead generation company. So, like if you look up, like let's say you're locked out of your car, or your house, uh, if you're stuck, you usually Google it up, like locksmith and then city name, like San Francisco locksmith, whatever. And what happened was a lot of the companies that advertised were not actually like companies within that area. Like you would have your old mom and pop shop that had been around for 30 years, but there was this sub business where all they did was basically generate leads, and then they would subcontract out to these companies or individuals. And when my friend who was working with one of those companies, or for one of those companies, when he was doing that, he kind of explained that business model. And that's where like me in my ignorance at 19 years old thought, oh, that seems easy, I can do that with literally no experience. And I started like looking up how to run Google ads, and I didn't even know that I needed a website. I thought I can just add, like literally create an ad, and it would just pop up there. Like it was just some kind of like text that I'd have to write. And they're like, no, you need a landing page. And I started Googling up like, what's a landing page? And that's like where I kind of went down that rabbit hole. And I didn't know how to build one. So I found Wix in that process. But yeah, so that was like the first project. And like I said, it developed pretty quickly, actually, like within the first month and a half. After like literally buying this book called The Art of SEO, I would just like read the book and I would just optimize the site, like adding meta tags, writing content for it. Um, I ended up buying those ads, and like the first phone call we got to actually make some money, I had no idea what it was about, because I get a call from an unknown number, and they're like, "Hey, I'm locked out of my car. Like, I need your help." And I was like, "Oh, well, all our techs are busy at this point, but I'll recommend this other company." And I just passed them off, and then I called my buddy up. I was like, "Holy shit, I think we did it! Like, we need to actually figure out how to service this, because we had no plan, no flow on how to forward that lead or anything like that." So that was like that first venture, and for me, it was crazy because I grew up always working physically with my hands. Like since I was 6 years old, I relatively humble beginnings, and I was always pulling weeds, mowing lawns, digging trenches for like anywhere I can get some extra money. That's how I lived. And this was the first time I did what I would consider like white collar work. Like I sat in an AC conditioned or air conditioned room, and money just came to me. Like that was an insane idea, and that was like the biggest moment for me as far as like changing my mindset and realizing I can actually like do something where I believed in myself, because I've at that point I've never really created anything special outside of doing things with physical work or labor.
yeah. So, you are. I'm gonna pivot to something completely different, but I think it's a good time to start the conversation about this. You're also a content creator now. You have millions of views on your YouTube channels, and you have a bunch of students online. What was the tipping point? How'd you get there? Like, where it wasn't just a side gig or something you were doing on the side, but also turned into like a job.
Yeah, so there was this point where I have to give a little backstory to how I even got into that, like because it's kind of interesting. So at one point, I built out this piece of software at a company that I was working at, or for a company, and we got into like, that was like what I ended up doing. Like once I built it, like I was managing it. That was in a way my job, but I got into this disagreement with my boss over who owned it at about like a 2-year mark, like of us using the system. Long story short, I went through this whole legal battle and I ended up winning that outside of court. And I basically got paid out 62,000 and some, whatever it was, for this thing that I built. And back then that was a lot of money because I was making like 40,000 a year. It was very, very humble. So I sold that, and this was like my first job in tech, like really coding, really building websites, because it was built with Python and Django, React, like the tech stack that I actually use to this day still. And after I sold that, I talked to my wife and I said, I could go find a job. I don't want to run another business. Like I want at least a couple of years from doing this because I'm pretty sure I lost like 15 years of my life just from stress. I was like, I could get a job, but I do have this money in the account. I had some savings, and what I could try to do is basically start this YouTube thing because I learned that way and I thought it was really cool, and I saw that as something that can really, take me to the next level. Like that's something that can create residual income. It's something that I would love to do. So I basically said, let's give it a year. If we get to our last $5,000, I'll go get a job. But let's start YouTube and go full time. And anybody that's done YouTube knows that's kind of a stupid idea because I had 0 subscribers, like square one, no experience. The only experience that I had that was actually viable was the fact that I knew marketing. So I already knew the SEO game. I had an idea of how to push something, even though I've never done it with a channel. So I started teaching the way that I wanted to be taught. Like there was people like Brad Traversy, who I work with now, Justin Mitchell from Coding Entrepreneurs, who taught me what I know. But even in that, there was still things that were missing that I would have loved to maybe have more customized to me. So I thought, hey, maybe there's other people out there like me that learn in a specific way, and I can create some tutorials. And if it gets some traction, we'll go with that. And yeah, like I think I got to 3,000 subscribers within the first like 2 months. And then I hit my first 100K within the first year. It was just a collection of tutorials, talking head videos, a couple of videos that went viral that really helped ramp up the audience. And once that ball gets rolling, it took off from there. And I plateaued like at 200K. I just decided to step away for a little bit for certain reasons. But that's kind of like the story to why YouTube was, because it was inspiring to me. I don't like the term give back because I'll be honest with you, it was selfish reasons. Like I did it for me. So I don't want to like act like I'm some like great person, like, oh, I just want to give back to the community. But it was just really cool and it happened to work out.
Wow. That is an inspiring story. We should, reproduce that, because the trajectory on which you grew, like a couple thousand subscribers over a few months, that's crazy, man. Especially then.
That's definitely rare, yeah. Because like normally, because when was this again?
2019. So I started November of like October. So October is when I sold the software, and I really started kicking things off around November. So I had 2,000 subs by January, or 3,000.
And then how fast did you grow from like January to June of COVID?
January to June. By June,
Oh, 2020. I swapped in COVID for 2020. That's brain right there.
Well, it was around. It was near COVID. So like,
yeah,
I started at the end of 2019, and by June of 2020, I think I hit like 50,000. And there was definitely a lot of luck there, but there was some strategy involved in that. So basically, long story short, from the marketing perspective, I understood that if I have a video that goes viral and I have 0 videos on the channel or just very little, it's not going to do much, right? Because it's like you're a one-hit wonder. They're not going to subscribe. They're going to watch the story, comment, and like it, and they're out. So
yeah,
I had this video in mind that I knew was going to go somewhat big. In my mind, I thought I can get like 10,000 views out of it. So I didn't make the video, and I'll tell you what that video was. And I started off just targeting SEO, like because I did SEO for hundreds of companies by this point, I knew the game. So I would like look up the keywords that I can make content on, specifically in the Python Django space. And I just targeted those. So the SEO gave me that slow, increase right there. It was like a couple hundred views every single video. It just kind of grew. And then when I felt like I had enough of a base, like people who knew my name, they're the commenters that are on every single video that usually happens, I knew it was time for this video. And the video was the story of how I sold this website. And I actually listed it at 40,000 because that was my profit. I had an investor that I had to pay back for that. And that video just blew up. Like right now, it's at like 1.7 million views right now, but it got 1 million views within like the first month, I think. Like it went viral, well, mini viral, I guess it's not too viral. But from that, it got me that audience that really just carried me through there. And they were subscribing because they saw that I had like 30 videos up until that point. And they were, consistent. They were on theme. Like it wasn't just random videos posted out there. Like I built up the base and then the mother load hit. And that just, pretty much created a wave that took everything to the next level.
Do you think that the COVID lockdown accelerated your progression at all? Because I feel like that was, if you started during lockdown, you might have been at a disadvantage, but like what you did, you started before lockdown and you kind of got right to the point where lockdown would like accelerate. Did you see those effects at all, or just kind of the same growth?
100%. So I have no doubt in my mind that I would have had a similar result without COVID, but lockdown absolutely impacted it. And I know this because I manage other YouTube channels. Like right now, I have all the stats to Traversity Media. I manage the account. You can see COVID just spike like this. And the reason for that was it was during the free money era. Interest rates were low. Everyone was at home. They had nothing to do. Tech was booming. And it was just this massive clash that kind of happened. And I think pretty much across every industry, you can see it. Like in the tech space, everyone was going into tech. So that absolutely helped. But I think that maybe beefed it up by an extra, let's say, 30% of where it was at. Like I still would have been able to have that, but definitely was able to benefit more off of that COVID wave.
Interesting.
Are we allowed to say COVID, by the way? Like, do you still get demonetized for that? Remember that whole era?
No. I think
bleep it out after.
I think we're cool. I think
the views are crashing now.
Anyway, yeah. You also are kind of known for this Django series. It's like quite legendary. I think if I were to look up some Django content, you would pop up there. So why
I
did you
hate those
go with
videos
Django?
now, by the way.
Yeah, you do?
Because it's the early stages. Like I'm super
Yeah.
awkward. I didn't even put my face on camera. Yeah, it's definitely like I think it's cringy to see it for myself. I don't like to watch them. But yeah, sorry. The question was, why did I go Django, right?
Yeah.
So I actually was going to start with the JavaScript series. And the reason for Django was because I was a Python Django developer. That's the framework that I had the most experience in, and that was the tool that I built that software with. So because of that, that's what I knew very well. I realized if I went for JavaScript, I would be competing with Westboss, a lot of like these big content creators who were active at that point. It was just way more competitive. And I knew that if I go for a sub niche that's still popular, but not as dominated, I can capitalize on those keywords. Like right now, if you go to JavaScript, like if you look up any JavaScript tutorial, pretty much every topic is covered. With Django, I knew that people had these questions. Again, it was SEO first for me. I realized, hey, this is a subtopic. I'll eventually get to the React stuff, which now, like, if you look up React, one of my videos will be the top video on YouTube right now. And I was able to do that after I got the audience. But Django was because I loved it, I knew it, and I also realized that there was just more room for growth there. It's funny at this point. Like I love Django actually as a framework, but I'm so tired of it. Like I actually stopped making content for that reason. Because I was like, I need to actually start picking up other things and not at the micro level. Like if I learn Vue today, it's going to be enough to make content, but I want to like really dig in and get into those deep problems where you really understand something. So it would be inauthentic for me to go and start teaching on something that I barely know. Yeah. So that's like, when I step back, it was to go and actually start building stuff again, like for real, not just demos and side projects.
Right. So that's kind of what your primary pipeline to like content was, where you were like, I want to just focus on stuff that isn't Django. With some of that stuff. So yeah, speaking of like an actual production pipeline, how do you sort of envision and plan out do you like make an outline, a script, or do you just hit record and just hope for the best?
No, I'm not that good. I'm envious of people that can just hit record and make content, because that'd be so much easier. But for me, it's I'm not, at least I wasn't good on camera before. Now I feel like I'm a little bit better. Like I can live stream, and I've done 12-hour live streams, so I feel confident now.
Nice.
But I still, in order to respect my audience's time, I want to make sure that I at least have like have you ever heard of the straight line example with sales? It's like there's point A and point B. So every video has to have a start and an end. Where are we getting to? Where does this video go? And you can weave around that line, but it has to eventually get to the end goal. So every video for me has a purpose. Like I need to know exactly what I want my audience to get out of it. And I'll usually write some kind of intro. Like that's usually actually the tougher part for me. And then I write out like a layout. What are we teaching? How am I getting to those points? And then I'll record it. Like it's quite simple actually in that sense. But as far as the layout itself, it has to be planned out. Like I hired a video creator at AppWrite actually, and his name is Atharva, and he's newer in the space, and he has his own YouTube channel. He's trying to get going with this, and that's one of the things I'm teaching him is, hey, slow down. Like he's really good at just hitting record and making content, but then I'll watch his videos and I'm like, how did you get to this? Like, how did that pop up on screen? You didn't really show us how you got there. And a lot of newer creators, I think, feel like they can just record and just basically talk to the camera, where if you don't kind of hold your audience's hand,
Right.
you're going to lose them. And that's where you'll usually see in your videos where your audience drops off. And that's because they're pissed because they saw you open up this console and you wrote this command, but you never explained what the hell that was. Like, yeah. So I'm very adamant about that because I was bad with tutorials. Like if a tutorial lost me, I would just tune out. Like I felt like I didn't feel like I was smart enough to pay attention in my younger days. So I just kind of assumed that not that the audience isn't smart, but that they have their own frustrations, and I want to make sure not to cause any gaps there.
That's
Makes
smart. That's
sense.
actually a very, very logical approach because when you're opening a video, you're committing your time. You want to be respectful of that resource. It's like the ultimate currency of every human being.
Right. If someone's going to spend an hour or let's say 20 minutes even watching my content, I don't want them to leave like, what the hell was that? Like they should feel like they got something out of it, and I'm giving them something, but they're giving me their time, which is valuable to me because I monetize off of that. So I want to respect it.
Right. All right. Now I want to talk about AppWrite. What is your story on joining the AppWrite team?
So I see an alert, by the way. It says lost headphone connections. Is that me or is that one of you all?
No. It's Ryan. Don't worry about it.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So I was working at a company called Agora, and I always have to give a backstory. See, this is that video creator part where I like to set the stage. I was working at a company called Agora right before AppWrite, and I started at Agora because I got tired of just creating content and working by myself. I got lonely, and I wanted to get back into like the tech field, like working at a company and not building something of my own. So I worked there for 2 years, but the tech itself I wasn't too excited about. Like it's great tech, but I only have so much to talk about when it comes to audio and video integration. And that just got boring for me. I also had some management changes, and I'm very good at realizing when something's not going to change in the future. Like for example, if like someone keeps promising me something in the future and I see a trend of them like breaking promises, then I'm out. Like I realized that really quick. And I kind of noticed it happening at Agora, like not in a bad way. It was just, I knew I wasn't going to get what I wanted out of the company. So I just started looking for other opportunities, and I interviewed at like, I don't know, like 30 companies, I think. And I got quite a bit of offers. And when I saw AppWrite, I just realized this is tech that I want to represent. I was all over the vision of what Eldad had, the CEO of AppWrite. I liked his vision for the company, and it was something that I can get behind. And I just realized, hey, this is something that I can help push forward, and I can be very genuine in pushing the content. I just really approved of that, I guess. Like I can't work at any company. Like if I'm putting my face out there and saying you should use this, it better be something that I actually care about.
Right. It makes sense too, because like I feel like in our developer community, you're gonna be written off as a shill if you don't actually like use the product like yourself. Like I can give a personal example. It's so easy for me to make Neon content because I use Neon for basically everything. And that's part of the thing. It's like when I'm working on a project, I'm like, here's how I do branching with Neon. And it's not like forced where I'm like, here's where we do branching with Neon. Neon is the best Postgres provide. No, it just comes easy because I've been using it for the past like 8 months. So, and I'm sure that's the same thing with Dan with Vapi and everything like that. It's so if you use a product, well, first, if you work for a company that the product you actually like, it sets you up a lot better than working at a company where you're like, I guess XYZ is good. You should go use it. Sure, maybe. So
I
yeah,
mean, it
Yeah,
has
I
to be
think that's
100%.
helpful.
Yeah, it has to be genuine. If you're joining, I don't know, a random crypto company and you're showing tokens, right? I mean, I have doubts that you genuinely believe in what you're selling. That's a
Well,
Right.
there's different parts of it. Like if like we're all developer advocates, so we have to put our name on something. Like if you're just a developer and you work at a company that you don't care about, but you like the tech, or you're just there for the paycheck, like nothing, it's no harm, no foul, right? You're not getting people on the product. You're just writing the code, and maybe you're benefiting because you work with some good engineers, even though you don't care about the end product. But for us, it's like, yeah, you switch that. It's like now, Dan's representing Vapi, and then he's off representing something else. Like people notice that, and it doesn't look good.
Right. Yeah. You gotta have integrity is a very big thing where you don't look like you get like bought out by every new company that kind of comes your way, and you're like, oh, now I'm shilling this company. Oh, now I'm shilling this company. My bank account's
Yeah,
looking very
exactly.
nice.
Yeah, there was also the startup aspect of it. So like the company that I worked at before, Agora, was, it's a publicly traded company. You're one of, they have like 250 in their U.S. branch, but there's like thousands in China. And like I felt like I also couldn't have an impact there. Like if I do something, I can maybe move the needle a little bit, but I couldn't be like proud that I did that. And it's not like for an ego thing. It's just that it's really cool to be the reason why something takes off, or at least a core reason to have a piece of tech be known. And when I switched to AppWrite, it was kind of that. It was like, oh, this is a newer company. They're definitely making waves, but I can basically take that baton and take them to the next level. Hopefully, that was kind of the idea. So like I felt like I can have more ownership of it, and then also just the position. Like there's a management aspect. I always tell people, like, when you're interviewing, if you have the luxury of being able to choose what company you work for, pay attention to management. Like if you have a manager that doesn't set you up right, or might leave soon, like once things change, you don't want them dictating your career. Like that was a big part of it, and that's kind of what happened. So once I noticed that, I was out, and AppWrite offered me that. They were like, okay, this is what you want to do, we'll allow it. And I always warned them, I was like, I need to follow this path. If I get a whiff of this direction moving, like I'm gonna not raise hell, I'm gonna raise some questions. Like I'm gonna sit down and talk to my management and say, hey, like either I'm out, or we fix this direction, or I need to know that it's temporary. So I was really big on controlling my own career path and not allowing someone else to dictate that. And I know not everyone has the luxury. Like there's people in the early stages, you just have to take what you can get. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
It's nice to have that luxury. But yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, Dan.
Yeah. I was gonna say that, like, I was at a lot of what would I put this? I had a lot of doubts about joining Vapi. I had to really check them out and make sure that this is the kind of company I'm willing to put my name on, and this is the kind of company that is going to the stars. Like I'm 100% confident these guys are like changing the world. That's why I'm with them.
Yeah. I definitely see it. They're in a really cool space too. We were just talking, before the stream. I did a sponsorship with Vapi, and there's sponsorships that you're like, I want to do another one because that's actually cool, and I have so much content that I can think of. Like when you have that natural synergy, like that's cool. That's gonna make you shine because you're doing exactly what you love. Funny story with Neon. When I was interviewing at AppWrite, I was also interviewing at Neon actually, and it was Mahmoud was the one who actually got me that interview. And I remember getting, I think it was like 4 rounds into it, and there was something, that kind of went through that that I guess happened in that process that got me a rejection, and I was broken about that. So it was like such a interesting process, and then seeing Neon finally have their exit, what part of me is like, damn it, like that would have been so cool to ride that wave. It's like,
right,
because that was 2 years ago. Like I would have had some, some
you
of my
would have
stock
had
vest there.
some good. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think any of my stock vested in the 2-hour period when I was hired.
That was on day one?
Not even day one, man. It was like
Day
2
zero.
hours. It was day 0. Yeah, it was 2 hours. I joined. I completed like my HR onboarding, and then all hands. And I'm
So
like,
you didn't know?
what?
That's funny.
I thought I was joining Neon. I guess I joined Neon for like, I was a Neon employee for like a month, I think, with like the merger and stuff. But yeah, it was it's like,
That's funny. That's
People are
funny.
like, "Oh wow, you must have loved this exit." I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm happy for us. I'm happy for us, but I didn't get any personal thing like that. But I'm excited. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll see.
The big reason for that, by the way, was I was actually on AWS. I used AWS RDS for years up until that, and it's kind of sad, but it's really like if you've ever configured it, it's really annoying. That's why companies like Neon exist. Like they're pretty much wrappers around this stuff that makes it easier. And I have a side project. I guess it's a project. Like it makes money for me and all that, but it was costing me just under what the project was making me monthly. So I think I was paying AWS RDS about $300 a month.
Right.
And all I had to do was reconfigure things, and I could have made it cheaper. But it was one of those where like, okay, it's going to take me 6 hours on a weekend to redo all this.
And it's
Or I can just
AWS too, so it's not like you
Yeah.
can like go in and like CLI configure everything. You gotta click this submenu, this submenu. Oh, it logged you out. Let me go back through IAMs and then go here, here, and here. Yeah, because I'm having to do a lot of AWS stuff with inbound right now, my email receiving product, and it's getting to the point where I downloaded Cluely to use in the AWS dashboard because the AWS dashboard can be so confusing sometimes. And Cluely obviously has like the amazing on-screen stuff. So I'm excited to try out Cluely in the AWS dashboard to make some sense of it, to hopefully work better. So like at every step I can be like, all right, what do I enter here? What do I enter here? What do I do here? So we'll see how that works. But
Wait,
yeah,
you
AWS
actually are going to be able to do that with Cluely?
yeah, because it can see your screen and hear your screen. So
That is cool. I'm looking it up
Right?
right now. I've never heard of this. That's really interesting.
You've never heard of Cluely?
Never.
Wow, this is
What?
an employed person. This is an employed person. You can tell, super busy person.
Holy cow,
So-
man!
I'm also a late
you-
adopter. I'm never an early adopter to anything. My thing is just to kind of use what I need and peek out every once in a while. But
Wait, do you
So
know what
it-
interview
it-
coder is?
no.
what?
Do you know the
Interview
guy who
coder?
got kicked out of Columbia because he cheated on all of the big?
I heard a
FANG
story
interviews?
like that. Is it
So
was it the
that's
leak
what
code
Cluely
killer
is.
guy?
Yeah,
Yes. Yes, that's him. That's Roy Lee.
Hmm.
And yeah, he made Cluely, which is like interview coder but like less controversial.
So what's interview coder though? Is it just
Interview
interview
coder
assistant?
is basically is an invisible layer. They should pay me. I'm shilling their product. It's an invisible layer. So like like the leak code things where they can see your screen.
Mhm.
It hides in between an invisible layer that like the screen recording software can't see and gives you answers of like what's actually happening on screen. So it's like it helps you
I've
cheat
seen
on leak
those.
code.
Okay, so I've seen those. If it's for leak code, I can see that being useful, but I've seen some where they help you like it basically listens to what's being asked, like it can hear the other person and it provides answers like tell me about a time you had an issue at a company or at work and you were able to resolve it. If someone used that shit on me, I would find out so fast. I don't know. I don't think that stuff works, but this actually looks interesting because it's giving you the answer to the problem itself. So you're not like trying to keep up in what it's writing. You're just looking at the code.
Right.
I'm very anti, or I guess pessimistic about these things. Maybe that's not the right term, but
I think there's a time and a place for them because you gotta use it correctly. Like I think my AWS example is probably not going to get me canceled, but like what Roy did is he went to he applied to Amazon, Nvidia, Google, and Meta, and he used interview coder to essentially cheat his way into all of the interviews, and he got a job offer from each of them for like it was like an L4, L5 position of like an SWE, and then once they found out, then and Amazon too. Yeah, when Amazon found out that he like whiffed them, then Amazon reached out to Columbia, and then he got kicked out of Columbia. So it definitely went viral. And then after that, he was like, "We're building."
I remember hearing a story.
a
I just didn't
brand
look
new
into
project.
Yeah,
And then that's
dude.
what Cluely came
Somebody
out
in
of.
chat yelling that you're living under a rock, man. Like I don't know how you didn't hear it. But yeah,
So
check it out.
I don't know how there's people on Twitter that I see that they're so active, and I'm like, I don't know where you find the time to be social.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to keep up with both, and there's just like
So
I'm very productive, but I'm also never on social media. So like it's this weird thing. And maybe some people can
That's
do both.
interesting to hear from a developer advocate. Isn't it like your job to be like following the trends, whatever's going on social media?
he's just
I'm
too
very
cool for us.
no, I'm very focused in. Like I'm more
Oh.
on Discord. I'm listening to the problems. I'm aware on YouTube. Like that's a big space that I'm in. I'm definitely on
Right.
Twitter. Like I said, I've seen the headlines, but like I don't watch half the Fireship videos. Like it's like, oh, like I remember seeing this headline. It was some kid got kicked out of Columbia. Like you said, I remember the headline, but it's rare that I'm gonna find myself watching it because I know the rabbit hole that it takes you on, and I just can't distract myself. Like I mentioned
Right.
earlier that I have major ADHD, so if I do
So
that, I'm screwed. I'm
so
very
what
good
I
at blocking
have
things out.
that's impressive. So what I have, and it probably doesn't help my ADHD, but if you see me looking over, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monitors. This
Jesus.
monitor is just OBS for the stream right now, but this monitor is tuned into X Pro. I don't know if you've seen that, but basically you can set up like panels. So like I've got like my feed, I've got notifications, messages, and my profile, and it's a live webhook. So it just updates every time a new post comes out. So it's just like, think of like regular news, like television news, but it's like text based. So like every time I'm waiting for like a build to compile or something like that, I'll just glance up there and like look at the feed and be like, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Oh, that person
Damn.
liked my post.
What are you
It's
getting
probably
notifications from? Is it just Twitter or multiple platforms?
yeah, it's just a live Twitter feed. So like imagine like scrolling on Twitter, but it's refreshing every 5 seconds.
That sounds horrible.
It's horrible, but it's really good for me to, because here's the thing. I can either look up at it and read it for like 10, 15 seconds, or I can go to the actual platform, like on like this machine down here,
Yeah.
and then scroll and then respond.
Then you go on a
and then
side
scroll and
quest.
respond,
Yeah.
and then yeah, side quest. So this, it
That's
allows me,
okay.
it's kind of like a it's like segregated almost, because what's nice too is that's the top is a Windows machine, bottom is a Mac machine. My Windows mouse is like over there and my Windows keyboard is like back there. So like if I wanted to interact, I would have to like go find it or grab it or something like that. So that way I just
That's
look at it
interesting.
and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Oh, interesting. Oh, he's getting canceled. Oh, he's now back. Oh, no, he's canceled again. So it makes it, it's an interesting approach.
In a weird way, that almost seems like a solution, because that's my issue, is the rabbit hole. Like I turn off my YouTube history so I don't get recommendations. And then when I need to look stuff up, I have a different YouTube account. And then like when I'm doing research for thumbnails, like a lot of times in order to design a thumbnail, I'll literally just scroll on YouTube and I'll just see what catches my eye, and I'll gain inspiration from that, or I'll go watch a certain content creator's videos and just see how they're doing things. But yeah, that's like I'm at the point like right now. So I work at AppWrite, but I also do ironically run a business too. Like I mentioned this earlier, but I run Traversy Media with Brad Traversy. Like
Right.
there we're doing the courses, we're creating content. And for me, it's like I manage people at AppWrite, and I'm getting DMs, and I get a DM. Like my wife also, we hired her at Traversy Media. She's also in the tech industry. She's messaging me, and like I just can't keep up with that. And I literally tell everyone like, my phone is not on me. Half the day I don't have it on me, actually. All notifications are off. On Discord at AppWrite, I tell everyone like I'm in focus mode for the next 6 hours. And unless it's an emergency, don't bug me. And I'll check Discord, but I'm gonna see like the urgency of it. And it makes me maybe not the best manager, because that's where I tune stuff out. So like that's how strict I have to be with it. And being pulled in these directions, like if I have to answer a question and help my wife solve a problem, like, hey, we got this email, this person's asking about XYZ. The second I dedicate time to that, I have to go take a walk in order to get back to what I was doing.
Right.
It's just
you got to reset. You got to reset.
Yeah, exactly. So
because
like
then you get on so many tangents that you can't focus back, because then it's just absolutely gone.
Exactly, especially if you're doing creative work. Like there's times like if I'm just coding, I can usually get back into and continue writing what I'm doing. But it's like now if I'm like scripting or something, I have to reimagine where I was at. I have to, like, if I'm editing a video, I have to rewatch the video up until that point to get myself into that mood. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's I'm an extreme case, but it's zero interruptions. And that's probably why I'm so not in tune with a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. Anywho,
I also hate hype.
hype. Hype is everywhere. You can't stay away from it. I don't know how you're staying away from it. Like I find it impossible to not read these titles and not, just get curious about it. Like I can't stay
I
away.
think I think I'm at the old man yells at cloud phase of my life. Like I'm 31 now, and
Yeah.
I just like see this AI, this Devin's killing your job, or taking your job, and it's like I don't even react to it anymore. I'm just like, yeah. I've been around enough. Like I know what's going on. I pay attention, but I kind of let things go away, and then eventually like the things that stick around, then I jump into it. And Theo actually had an interesting video on this actually where he talks about not being an early adopter. Like I love that video, by the way. I think it's very practical. Like I feel bad for newer developers that are so in tune into social media now because these poor dudes think that the next framework that they're using is going to be dead, so they don't know if they should even study it anymore, like that type of thing, right? Like there's this fear of people not even sure they should be learning because they don't know if the tech industry is going to be here. And I have my perspective on it, and to me it's just very easy to ignore it because I've seen a couple
So
cycles around the sun.
I'm interested to see what your opinion is on AI because you don't sound like AI pessimistic, but you definitely sound
No.
AI cautious, where you're like, this is great, but let it cook for like 2 months so that way other people can figure out the flaws and then I'll use it. Is that kind of what you use as your terminology for like AI as well? Or what's your sort of, because like for example, Slack dropped their AI background agents, Devin exists, Claude Code exists, Codex with OpenAI. What's your thoughts on AI assisted coding and development?
So it's a mix of that actually. Like I'm actually very optimistic about it, but optimistic and I'm not pessimistic in the fear of AI is going to take over everything. I don't believe in that, and I don't think there's any evidence of that. So like if I were to use an example, like AI taking jobs, for example, like there's people that will freak out about it, and then there's the ones that will adopt it in everything. To me, I look at what's happened and I look at the things that are obvious. Like, has AI taken anyone's job specifically as a developer in written code? There's zero evidence of it. And there's no evidence that it's
Right.
going to get so good that it's actually going to write your code. And then I see studies like AI writes 90% of code at Google or something like that. Like there's these examples. And then you find out it's like, oh, like if they considered a character, like if you wrote, let's say 1,000 lines of code and 90% of that code was generated by AI, they consider that AI writing the code. Well, what's actually happening is there's a developer who's writing it and it's like doing the autocomplete and suggesting it. But none of that was actually thought of and created by AI. So to me, it's like laughable because there's no evidence of that. But I'm also not going to completely ignore it because I've used Cursor and holy
Right.
crap, like that, I'm not going back. Like it's freaking amazing to have the code that I actually want to write just be like completed for me and even suggested and re-optimized. So I'm aware of the benefits. Like things are going to be going to production faster, but I'm not a vibe coder. Like if you vibe code something and you ask me to help debug, like I have no respect for people that do that, and I'll never help out because I think that's just the wrong way to do things. So like I'm cautiously watching it, but I also know that half of these AI builder tools are going to be dead soon, and there's going to be some that survive. But yeah, like chasing all of them is not what I'm going to do, and I'm also not going to hop on every trend. I just pay attention, like check out the latest models, I see what's going on, but definitely not adopting everything.
Right. I think that's Yeah, I think that's valuable because you got to know what to adapt. Because, like, for me, I'm not a big fan of the sort of blind code gen tools like Claude Code, um, like the Lovables and the Bolts and those type of
Mhm.
things. V0 is nice because I can kind of reach into the code a little bit more and it's got a little bit more of a developer orient. But I use AI, but I don't use it in create me a to-do app. I'm like, okay, go to this file, reference this, do this in this file. I need you to optimize this to be this sort of database query. So it's like I mentioned this last stream, but it's just another level of abstraction of language programming where instead of writing in assembly, I'm writing in JS, but instead of writing in JS, I'm writing in hyper specific natural language where the AI doesn't need to know reason. It just needs to know code, which it does. Because I think about AI in the way that it's essentially just untapped documentation. It knows documentation forward and backward. It knows sort of those optimizations. So if I just tell it to go here, implement this, go here, implement this, do this, do that, do that, or it always works out great because it knows like code. It may not know code theory that well, but that's where I come in, and that's where I can actually develop like super fast because I know the infrastructure, I know the high level. But
yeah. There's I still, was it the CEO of NVIDIA that was talking about like don't learn to code? Like that stuff to me is I didn't even need to look at the context. Like maybe he was taken out of context, but when he said that, like I don't care that this is the CEO of NVIDIA. I've been around enough to laugh that off so quick. Like that was absolutely ridiculous when he said that. And like you said, you're talking about this. There's with AI, coding. There's no evidence, and I've seen no examples of anyone actually building a real production level app that doesn't know what they're doing, just vibe coding their way through. Like you're going to see this 8-year-old builds game. Like if that ever happens, what's going to happen is someone's going to create an idea. They're going to be able to take a market or a product to, build some kind of MVP, raise some money, but they're still going to have to build a team and actually revamp all that code. No one's pushing that code to production. Like there's those kind of cases. So to me, like that's the part that I'm really against right there is the complete removal of it I almost feel weird even having to explain it because anybody that actually understands how it works would never believe that. Like that just seems ridiculous. And I have yet to see a developer that actually knows what they're doing that would be afraid of AI just absolutely generating all our code. Has it changed the market? Hell yeah. Like even interviewing, I interview a lot of people for work, like past companies where I'm at now. Like I give people technical interviews and the expectation has changed. Like the junior role has changed. How we develop has changed. That's all true. Like now a junior developer who historically would have to just know some React, some JavaScript, a couple of basic core concepts. Now it's like, hey, you know what? We need you to understand that and other tools and layers of abstraction because we need you to manage that as a junior. So that completely redefined the junior role. So in that sense, absolutely affected the market. That makes like that we've seen the impact on.
Yeah, I like this. I like this phrasing because it's literally not replacing. It's just changing the definition of the job, right? It's empowering. It's how I like to think about it.
Yeah, you have more tools, so therefore I'm going to expect you to maybe know 3 other frameworks because we can now learn it that much faster and we're that much more capable now. So a junior's expectations are not higher, it's just spread out across different things. You need to know a little less about more, I guess. Maybe that's the way to put it.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right.
it allows it'll
I'm
one more
trying to
thing,
bring
one
it
more
back to the
thing,
script.
one
Oh
more
my
thing,
God,
one more
go,
thing,
go.
one more thing. It allows you to be to do more scope because previously you would have a database guy, you'd have a front end guy, you'd have a front end state management guy. Now you can have a front end guy, and then you can have a back end guy, and you may not even need the database guy type thing. Not that they should get fired. I mean, if they are annoying, yeah, fire them. But it allows people to do more, but they still know their stuff type thing. So it's like, if I'm going to go implement a Next.js app, I don't need to know how React state works or any of that other stuff. I just need to know how the general idea of state is managed, and then I can implement that. But it allows you to have a lot wider of a scope for everything that you do, but still maintain a pretty decent quality level as long as you can understand code and know the logic gates of it. But yeah, we'll go to our wrap up section now. Dan's gonna kill me.
Yes, I will. All right. Actually, a few things before we move on to a wrap up. On AppWrite, one thing that was notable, I know, I found is that you guys got a Best DevRel Team Award in 2023, and you were like at the forefront of that. Like there was a whole entire blog post dedicated to you as like a person who moved the needle.
What I know we got an award. I did not know about a blog post.
Yeah. There was a page, AppWrite Decoded, Dennis Ivy, about you on their blog.
Oh, okay,
cool.
okay. I know which one you're referring to. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. And like you talked a bit about the regret, right? Like, oh man, I wish I was at Neon. Like, do you really regret? Like,
No. I don't regret it. It's just what no, absolutely. That's the wrong way to take it. It was interesting because like that was my number one company. Like AppWrite was actually my second on the list, and Neon just fit into so many things. So it was like, to me, it almost felt like the one that got away. It's a funny thing. And I've always just kind of had that edge to me. I'm very competitive. So when I got rejected by the person who's not even there anymore, that's the irony. I think I'm not gonna say his name, but the person who interviewed me, who rejected me, got rejected, and then I actually had someone from Neon try to hire me after that fact.
Mhm.
It's just like this like X thing, you know, like you want to prove your X wrong in a sense. Like it's kind
Yeah.
of funny, but yeah. There's just a aspect of that, and I just still love the company. But no, I'm very happy with where I'm at.
Right.
Yeah.
One other thing, developer relations, I guess it's a sort of newish thing in the format that it exists today.
In the format it exists, yeah, because Apple
Yeah,
started it pretty much like
yeah,
back in '79 or whatever.
yeah. But the way it is today, like, it's a pretty exhausting job if you ask me. Like, you have to be everywhere. You have to put your face on everything, be open to all communications, be helpful, and receptive to feedback. You also like have a family and a business. Like, how the hell do you manage all of that? What's your process?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Like, I don't know a developer advocate that doesn't face some level of burnout. For me, I definitely try to stay in my lane. Like, there's developer advocates that focus in different areas, and I was really good at knowing where my strengths are and knowing how to say no to certain things. Like, we will often get requests for writing articles, and I do write articles for our website or maybe work on some documentation. But because it's not my strength, and we have developer advocates that do that, I've done a really good job of drawing the line and saying, we need to leave that to someone else without being a bad team player and just pushing that off. I say my strength is in attending events. I can network very well. I know how to make videos and I know how to get user feedback to improve the product. Therefore, I'm very strict about sticking to that. And if I get pushed out of that lane, I pipe up very quick and I speak up for myself. And when I speak up for myself, it's not to defend myself, it's really to defend my productivity at the company. So I'm actually helping the company by not saying yes to everything. So to me, that's an important one. In general, though, like I talked to James Quick recently, who works at MakeSwift right now, and he was talking about this whole burnout process. Yeah, it's something that you almost have to have a character type for it. I would not say that it's for everyone. Like I see a lot of newer developers getting into it because it is sexy, right? Like you're traveling the world. You know, I was in Prague last year, Barcelona the next, and then Lisbon. Like it's cool. Like you're going everywhere and then across the US. But the problem is that you do have to still improve your tech skills. Like, so if you're a developer and you're new and you want to become a developer advocate because it looks fun, I would say don't do it. Like that's very risky because I have to basically fight tooth and nail to ensure that I still have time to code and to study. And there's days where I allocate 3 days a week and I say, you know what, we're going to get our work done. And then those 3 days, and I even tell a couple of people that work within me who are, I don't like to say they're managing them, but you know, I do authorize a lot of their work and their job. I tell them take that time to do whatever you want, but just try to make it company focused. Like you need that creative time just to go build whatever you want. Don't tell me what it is. Eventually let it come back to the company, but you need that creative time. So just really drawing the line because if you say yes to everything, you're not going to improve your tech skills and you're going to burn out and you'll be at every conference and you'll be writing every article and your work will suffer. I see a lot of developer or dev advocate teams that don't thrive because of this.
That is actually like brilliant advice. I wish I knew that 2 weeks ago. Really helpful. Thank you, Dennis.
No problem.
All right.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We always ask this question on the show. You might actually know it. If you could give yourself one piece of advice 10 years ago, what would it be?
Ooh, that's in what space? Let's start there because I can go all day. You know, don't pee against the
Anything.
wind, that type of thing.
Anything. Is there something now where you're like, if I could tell myself 10 years ago, what would it be? Type thing.
I would say don't try if I were telling myself personally this, I would say don't try to take lead on everything. Like try to maybe take a step back
Right?
and be second in command in a sense because I do have a type A personality where like once my mind is made up, I push for things and I just want to always take control of things. And I jumped into things that I probably shouldn't have, and it's benefited me before in life, like quite a bit actually. But I also took on unnecessary stress because I really wanted to do it and do it myself and be, you know, the man that got it done. But because of that, I would have benefited from learning from someone else. Like instead of starting my company, I would go, and if I couldn't get a job as a developer, I would go serve coffee and just learn from somebody. Like,
Right.
that would have saved me time, probably sped up my process. Again, because I led the company, I learned a lot, but it was just unnecessary. And I tell people that right now, like, don't try to do the big thing now. Stay patient and try to just pay attention and learn from people that have done it, and truly take that advice, because I was kind of a stubborn mule in my younger days, where if I got advice from someone, I would just brush them off, just like any young kid. I can do it better. I'll figure it out. Yeah, you dealt with that, but I'll figure it out. And I kind of just ran my head up against the wall too often.
That is a great piece of advice, but would you be surprised to learn that that was a correct answer that you didn't get?
Was it, say that again?
That was a correct answer to this question, and you missed the mark.
Oh, there was a
We'll
correct
get-
answer. You're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's the correct answer? We'll give you a redemption round.
Hold on. There was a
10 seconds on the clock. Dennis has to answer. If 10 years ago, what advice could he give? 10 seconds on the clock. 10, 9.
Hold on, I'm confused. How is there a correct answer to advice I would have given myself?
Yeah, you just
Buy
gotta know.
NVIDIA stock.
Yeah,
Is that the correct answer?
yeah.
Or Bitcoin. Either way.
Bitcoin. Yeah,
I went into this whole philosophical thing. Buy NVIDIA stock?
yeah. No. It's a joke that we make. Like, genuinely, we want to hear the piece of advice, and then we just make this joke that
I
the
see. I
correct
see.
answer
No,
was-
I guess I never watched an end of the stream.
Yeah. Like, we
Gotta
immediately
keep me
can
hooked.
tell. Yeah, we immediately can tell if somebody watched NextDev. But yeah, cool. Awesome. This has been super insightful conversation. I personally have learned a lot, and I hope our audience did too. Now you get 1 minute of fame. Why don't you show yourself? Where can people find your work?
Yeah, sure. Twitter. Check me out on Twitter. Dennis IVY11. I don't know. I had to because someone else took Dennis Ivy and they don't even exist anymore. YouTube channel, also Dennis Ivy, but AppWrite, that's my company. We're doing great things. Open source alternative to Vercel now. I wasn't the one that came up with that, but yes, we're in the hosting space. And Traversing Media. We're updating courses. We're doing a lot of stuff there for anybody that watches the channel and the way things are working. Brad and I are doing some really cool stuff, and we're hoping to take it to the next level. So pretty excited about all that.
Awesome. Love to see it. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Dennis. It was really a pleasure. Like you said, I learned a lot of stuff. I think this was really valuable. But yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, glad to be here. Cool to finally be able to be part of this.
Right on.
Yeah, we're gonna make history one day. Just you wait.
One day.
You're number 22. You'll
Yep.
be there. All right. Well, thank you again for watching. My name is Ryan. This is Dan, and that's Dennis. And thank you for tuning in to NextDev, and we will see you next time.
Cheers.